So this little clip is to demonstrate how it's really relatively easy to replace the control module on an OVAEASY Series II machine. Now that includes an OVAEASY 580, an OVAEASY 380, an OVAEASY 190 and an OVAEASY Hatcher. It does not include the OVAEASY 100, which is slightly different and needs to be looked at separately. So, in order to replace the control module on one of these machines, we need really to start with a set of instructions like these. Secondly, we need the right tools. You need the correct size of Phillips screwdriver. If you get the wrong size, if it's not a perfect fit, you will damage the head of the screw. So get the right size of the Phillips screwdriver. You need what we call an M10 spanner. That's a 10mm spanner, like this one. You'll need a set of long-nosed pliers, like these. You'll need a set of cable cutters, something like this. And afterwards, once you've put the replacement unit in, you'll need a calibration thermometer like this one, so that you can calibrate your machine and make sure that what it's saying on the menu is what you've actually got in terms of temperature in the machine. We'll demonstrate how you do this. So those are the tools that you need. So we need to start by unplugging, make sure we've unplugged the power lead from the back of the machine. This one's unplugged, but you must unplug the machine first. And then what we need to do is to unscrew the top 10 screws located around the edge of the top panel so that we can lift it clear. So let's start unscrewing these here. And work around. I'm not going to show you me unscrewing every single one because it'll waste your time watching this. So I've done that side, I've done the back. I'm just doing these last couple of screws on this side now, and then I need to clear the top of the tools and the instructions so that I can take the lid off. This one's a little bit stiffer. There we go. So let's keep these screws safe. Clear my tools from the lid. Take the instructions off. So let's just now lift the lid. There we go. That's what I see when I look down at the 580. This is the control module at the front here that I want to replace. But first we need to take this front off. And to do that, we're simply going to pull these screw covers off like that. That one. That one, you just push down on them and they will come off. There we go. That comes off. Yeah, just a little bit of pressure downwards on those covers and they come off. And that's now why you need your 10mm spanner. I'm just going to undo those. That's one. There's four nuts here we need to undo. There we go. It only needs a little turn and it should come off very easily then by finger. That's that done. So having taken those screws off, let's just remove that cover. As easy as that.
What we then need to do is to remove 4 black screws that are holding that control module in place. So let's take a closer look at that. We need to use the Phillips screwdriver and unscrew the 4 screws that are here. So I'm doing my last one now, and note that the washer comes between the screw head and the little metal plate into which the screw is screwing into. Okay, so keep those. Let's move on to the next bit. Okay, so if you're anything like me now, you need glasses to do this because it's quite difficult to see. What we need to do now is to carefully snip the little cable ties that keep the cables together here. There's one on each side and there's the other one. So here we go. It's one. Okay. And so that was holding the brown and the white and the red together, and then another one down here which is holding 2 blues and a brown together. There we go. That's him. Okay, let's do the other one. So that's those. So this one on the left hand side was holding all the wires together. So what the instructions say now is that with a pair of long-nosed pliers, gently pull out, to start with, the 3 white connectors. So I've got 1, 2 and 3. Right. It says to make sure you actually pull the connector out, not the wires. Hence why I think it suggests you use the long-nosed pliers. So let's see if we can do this. There we are, there's one. Out of the way so I can see. Nice and gently. Oh, not the wire. Two. And 3. There we go. Okay, that's it. And we'll do the same for the other side. So this is now the other side where I've got the brown and white clip, and the same applies. Just take the pliers. I'm using 2 hands to try and get a steadier grip on these, but I'm trying to show you at the same time. So there we go. Again, so trying to avoid getting the wire. There we go. Gently ease it out. I think it's easier using 2 hands. I've never done this before, so I'm probably like anyone else that's coming to this first time. What's clearly helps is if you use the pliers and these little long-nosed pliers, and you squeeze the end of the black connector, and then it seems to come out really quite easily like that. But it helps to squeeze this little bit here as well as that bit there to pull it out. Okay, so that's those 3 out. So having taken these out and these out, really all we need to do now is to lift that control module out and fit the replacement module. It's literally as simple as that. That's it coming out. So from us, what you get is a replacement unit like this, in a box like this, and it will contain basically the instructions, and it will have essentially the same control module. So when we replace the control module, we just follow the instructions, and it clearly indicates to us that you just fit in reverse sections 1 to 8. You ensure that the black and white connectors are located correctly in the control module and are pushed fully home. And it tells us where each of the wires should be, and it gives us photographs to show where the wires should be. Now the only thing to note is that where you have a 110 volt machine, rather than having white and brown wires going into the left hand side of the machine where the black connectors are, you may have red and brown wires. So to go in reverse, I'm simply going to follow the instructions, and what I can see is that the white and brown one comes in first, so that needs to be clipped in. It may help actually to do the clipping in with the unit out before putting the machine in place. That one's gone in quite easily. Then it goes to the red and blue. Putting these back, there is a little trick to them, and the reason they say to use the long nose pliers is because if you look at these, they have a little clip, and what you need to do is to squeeze that little clip when you put them back in. So that's gone in now. Okay. So this is clearly can be a little bit fiddly, this. But we need to pinch the end. There we go. Okay, so those are firmly in. It's a fiddly little job getting them in. So probably that's the bit that's going to take longest of all in the whole process, is just fitting these back in. Following the instructions, for the white connectors, you have the black and red wires that go at the top. So here we go, black and red wires into the top. That's easy. The yellow wires go in the centre. That's gone in. And the red, yellow, black and green wires, and notice, look at that carefully, it's going to go in that way. So last one in, just get it to clip into place. There we go, that's in. So they're all in now. So again, it might have been easier, as the technician said, if I'd unscrewed these little nuts here to release the wires, so I had more space in order to see what I was doing putting these little plugs in. However, you'd need another little spanner to undo these. But doing it this way can be a little bit fiddly, but it's not difficult. So having done that, let's just bring this up close and just hook it over. It sits. That's now in position. Okay. We have our cable ties that we get with our replacement unit. So we're going to put the cable ties back in position here. There we go. And if I go back and look at my instructions, I can see that I had a cable tie that held the white, blue, wires at the top, and it held the red wire from the second little clip. I'll just put that in there. And I had another little cable that held the two blue wires at the bottom and held the brown wire, so I'll put them in there. If for any reason you don't have the cable clips, it doesn't appear to be the end of the world. There we go, tie those together, that's it. Good, so that's that done. So let's put those 4 screws back in place then. Put them there, and there. There we go. So with this one, that's all 4 screws then back in place. Again, working backwards, the next thing to do is to put our fascia back in place. So this, okay, we need our little nuts to go on there, nuts to go on here, 4 nuts that go back on to hold this in place. Okay, a very gentle tightening. It really doesn't need to be too tight because we wouldn't want to do anything to crack the fascia, so it's just very, very gentle tightening. There we go. Put our screw caps back on like this. Okay. And then all we do is we put our lid back on. So, take our lid. The caution sign at the top of the lid goes at the back. So that's dead easy. And we simply re-screw all the little screws back in to the lid. So let's assume I've done all that. What we now need to show you is how to calibrate this machine.
So once we've fitted the OVAEASY Series II control module, the replacement module, what we need to do is to turn our OVAEASY machine back on, which is what I've done with this machine. And then we need to follow a simple process for recalibrating the OVAEASY machine. And that involves using a thermometer. So it may be the glass thermometer that we've already described, this glass thermometer for calibration, or it may be using one of these spot check digital thermometers, which is an alternative way of checking the calibration. What we need to do is to ensure that the trays are out of the machine, that we have leveled the shelves out using the menu, the digital menu on the machine, and that the water tray remains fitted in the machine. So we've said that one of the things we need to do first of all is to instigate a leveling of the trays in the machine. Now the easiest way to do that to avoid problems is to go into the menu, the minus and the plus button together, to go down as far as the turning, to press OK once you get to turning to enter into that menu, and to turn the turning so that it's off. In other words, it's on 0. At the moment it's on 1, so let's move it to 0. Let's press OK, and then let's carry on through the menu until we get to save and press OK. When we've done that, we have now turned the turning off,
What we now need to do is to bring the trays, which are still in a diagonal slanted position, into a level position. So all we do, having turned the turning off, is press the OK and the minus. You see the little turning sign there? The OK and the minus brings the trays into a level position. You hear the buzzer sound. That is now activating the turning of the trays so that they come into a level position, and then the turning will stay off. So the trays, as you can see, having done that exercise, are now coming into a level position. There we go, they're level now. The incubator needs to be left for at least an hour to get up to a stable temperature, and once we've put the thermometer into the machine, we need to leave it for a further half an hour to further stabilize. Then we can look at the thermometer reading that we see inside the machine and compare it to the measurement we get on the menu, the digital menu of the machine. If, for example, there is a 1 degree difference, in fact, if there's anything more than a 0.2 degree difference, we need to adjust the temperature that we read on the menu so that it matches what we are seeing actually in the machine. And to do that, what we do is we go into what we call the calibration menu on the machine, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so let's open our OVAEASY because we want to put our thermometers in there. So we need something that's 30 millimeters high. What I'm using in this case is not a little wooden block, it's actually a business card holder, which happens to be really nicely designed for it. It's 30 mils high. I take my thermometer and I place my thermometer in the machine. On the OVAEASY 580, I'm looking for the third shelf down. On the OVAEASY 190, I'll put it on the top shelf. On the 380, I'll put it on the second shelf, which is the middle shelf. So this is a 580 machine. I've got the water reservoir fitted, my shelves are flat. I'm going to put my thermometer on the third shelf down in a position where I can still read that temperature. If I'm using the spot check thermometer, that spot check thermometer has a little on and off button. It's also got a little button that tells us whether it's in Fahrenheit or centigrade. I'm keeping it in centigrade. I'll press that into an on so that the machine, the little spot check thermometer comes on. The guys in the factory, they place a little piece of magnetic strip on the back, and the beauty of that is that they can clip it magnetically to the front of the machine and close the door. What we then need to do is to place the probe of the thermometer at a height of 30 millimeters. Now what we do here is we have an ingenious little piece of kit here where we can put the probe through it and we can place that probe in here in the machine. So we can place that towards the center of the tray as we like, so that we can take a reading. I then close the door and I leave it for half an hour to stabilize again, and then I take that reading. You've now taken a reading on your thermometer 30 minutes later after the temperature is stabilized, and you are comparing it to the reading on your digital menu, and you have decided that there is more than a 0.2 degree difference, and therefore what you now want to do is to bring the reading that you have here on your digital menu in line with the reading that you have on your thermometer. So you need to go into the calibration menu. Now this is probably one of the most important tips of all, which is how you get into the calibration menu. The best way to go into that calibration menu is to put a finger on the OK button a finger on the plus button, press those two down before you press the minus button down, like this. Push those two down and then that one down. You can now see I've come into the calibration menu. The reason you want to do those OK plus first before you press the minus is to do with the little symbol that you see here, which is a turning symbol. Because in trying to press all three buttons down, if you do these two by accident first before you press the plus down, very hard to get all three of them down instantaneously, simultaneously. If you do these two first, you will initiate a turn. Now, if you've got your thermometer set up on the tray, on a block, and the trays start turning, your thermometer will roll off and probably fall to the bottom of the machine and possibly break, possibly split the little thread, the little mercury thread, which isn't actually mercury anymore, but the little thread that's in the thermometer. So either way, that's not something you want to happen. So remember, OK plus and the minus immediately afterwards to enter the calibration menu. Let's assume that in the machine, on the thermometer that we're using to calibrate, we're reading a whole degree lower. Let's say we are reading 36.5 on the thermometer in the machine. So from this point in the calibration menu, we can reduce the temperature that the machine is reading so that it matches the temperature on the thermometer. So let's do that. We're going to use the minus button to reduce that temperature till we get to 36.5. 36.4, 36.5. We're going to go OK to that. Now, very important now that we've done that, we've got to go through and save those changes. So I'm going to press this to take us on through the various calibration headings until we get to the save button. There we are. At this point, if I OK that, it will save the changes to the calibration that I have made. So let's do that. So there you go. You can now see that the temperature in the menu is at 36.6, rising to 36.7, and it will continue to rise now to hit its target temperature, which is still 37.5. It's just that we have now told the machine that instead of 37.5, it is actually 36.5 in the machine, because that is what the thermometer is measuring. And our machine is now going to work to bring the temperature back up to 37.5, which is where we want it to be. Now, what's important to do is to leave it for half an hour to settle out, and then to go back and check it again against the thermometer, because we may still be a few points out, in which case we need to go into the calibration menu again and adjust it again, save it, and then check it again half an hour later. And we have to continue that process until we are confident that the temperature that we read on our thermometer and the temperature that we have here, once it's stabilized on this menu, are the same. If we look now at the thermometer, the glass thermometer, again we can see that temperature is rising. It is now at 37 degrees. It's just got to 37 there as it hits that longer line, and it's keeping going up. So on the glass thermometer it's a little bit harder to get within 0.2, but between that longer line that we can see, we're at 37, and the next long line is 38. So the little middle line between those two is 37.5. Now, so following a secondary calibration and having left it machine for half an hour, I've come back and I'm looking at it now, and there we are. It's spot on 37.5 on the glass thermometer that I've got in the machine, and if I move and look at what's going on, you can see that the spot check thermometer is saying 37.5 as well. 37.6 and 37, that is pretty much 37.5. So there we're certainly within 0.2 of a degree, and I think that's good enough for a calibration.